Okay, we're
Hey,
live.
how's it going, man?
Hey, Joel. Okay, this guy apparently wants to debate me about whatever.
Actually, it wasn't really a debate. I just wanted to, was essentially just I don't understand your view of this objectivity as a subset of subjectivity. If
It's the other way around.
or subjectivity is an offshoot, whatever. You get my
Subset.
point. What I'm saying is that I don't understand your logic behind this statement.
What's your training in logic?
What? What? Come on, man.
No, I know.
Comments.
I'm serious though. What's your training in logic? You're invoking it. So I think it's relevant to ask.
Common sense, dude. You can't.
It's not logic, right?
I don't want your. I don't want circular
Okay,
logic.
just
I
use
don't want.
common sense. I won't get so offended if you just use words like common sense instead of logic, because that's not logic.
Well, because you. The thing is I'm not posing an ad hominem attack by saying you're illogical. What I'm saying is that especially that whole accelerationism thing that you espouse with the whole voting for Sanders.
Huh?
That it seems irrational. I don't mean to offend, or I kind of do. It seems irrational in the sense that you somehow accelerationism is going to help anything in your quote unquote meta self interest.
It just it kind of comes from the deductive analysis of ego utilitarianism. Just the fact that it comes from profit analysis. So if immoral acts are inherently unprofitable, that's why government is immoral with respect to just the average citizen. Let's say that
I,
just the fact that they don't provide goods that are worth the amount they spend. But
while I agree with the okay,
wait,
I'm gonna
wait,
I'm gonna
first, before we go into that stuff, that's more of a like I'm not opposed to like hearing this position about acceleration. It's highly tentative. This is not something I'm totally sure about, but it makes more sense than what you guys want, right? Some type of
okay. So
anarchy through democracy, which is
well,
inherently contradictory.
out of chaos comes order, man. We know this. So what you're essentially saying with the whole
Out of chaos comes order. Then why don't you want to
well,
accelerate?
check it out. Give me a moment. What you're essentially saying with that whole profit equals morality thing, while I would agree with you, that would exist in a free market. A free market is not what we have.
No,
So
no,
you,
no,
so
no.
you
Let me just correct you real quick. It it that condition always exists for morality, whether it's a free market or not.
no, no.
Yes, yes.
Explain to me how the immoral acts of companies now is somehow hurting their fiscal gains. Explain to me how the immoral act of Walmart taking out insurance policies on their own employees and cutting benefits and all the cutting benefits thing.
I'm
I
not gonna
understand totally,
speak.
but
I'm not gonna speak about like things I don't know about. So I don't know what you're referring to. I don't know what insurance policies Walmart's taking out on their employees.
oh yeah, no, they make you sign that when if you were to go work there, you have to sign an agreement saying that it's okay for them to take out an insurance policy on you with them as the benefactor. So
So
as
what?
if what
It's part of a terms of contract. So
I understand that, but
wait,
if more
why are you
what I'm
calling it immoral?
why am I calling it immoral?
And what's your
Because
standard of immoral?
okay, what I'm saying is before you interrupt is that if people were aware of what they were signing, which 90% of them are not, I understand that it's most people that are fucking retarded enough to go work for Walmart don't they're not of any kind of learned standing, so they're not going to they're not going to read what they're signing. It's immoral because they're being taken advantage of essentially. And what I'm saying is, with the whole, that you didn't understand what I was getting at, saying that it's baseless for the profitability equals morality in a non-free market. It's baseless because you don't have an educated populace in a market that's not free, especially one with socialized education.
You don't have an educated. What makes you think that education's an end, not a means?
No, education is not an end. It is a means. It's a means to getting people,
Yeah, but
aware of what's proper. And I'm saying without people aware of even
yeah,
what
but
morality is.
that naturally takes care of itself. If people get taken advantage of, those people, that type of behavior doesn't last. Right?
One second, I have a message. I got to work for a second. Keep talking, but I won't be able to reply while I'm working. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just saying that these things take care of themselves, right? If there's some type of behavior that allows oneself to be taken advantage of, like government, to be to encourage parasites to live off you and to die while doing it, that should be encouraged if you don't want that type of behavior. I mean, it kills itself. I don't know what the problem is. So again, this is profitability is a mechanism of nature. It's not something restricted to the free market. It's not anything restricted to an unfree market. It works all the time. You can always run a cost benefit analysis in any situation and evaluate morality.
Yeah, no, I don't necessarily. Yeah, I don't agree. I agree with what you said. You can run a cost benefit analysis and equate it therein to whether it is moral
You would
or
agree with
immoral.
this. You would agree with this, right? Evolution always rewards profitability. No, in terms of the meta
Yes,
self,
yes,
no
yes.
matter no
I would
matter
agree.
the circumstance, right? In all of reality, it's always evolution's always acting whether there's a government or not, right? That's what I mean.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. So go ahead.
So my morality, it comes from a logical deduction of from evolution itself. See, so
So you're saying that the state has become relevant through the evolution of controlling these useful idiots, and that is somehow better than having an educated populace that would be better governed. No, it's stifling that evolution. You're stifling the will of good fucking people that would have merit,
no,
but are just will.
government's not a sustainable system. So
I agree, but what you're saying is so you're essentially advocating for the accelerationism because you want to get to a better system. How do you think that a better system will arise out of that? If you're debating me on the fact
the
that
same way
you
you
know
learn from mistakes.
yeah, you do learn from mistakes, and I'll agree from that. But what I'm saying is that you're saying that anarcho-capitalism is baseless because you don't think that chaos or order is derived from chaos.
You
But
use a
then,
lot of
but
terms, kind of. I'm not prepared to accept yet. So you say anarcho-capitalism. Were you implying that I'm against anarcho-capitalism? In what way?
no, you earlier you said that you and Caps are espousing this whole thing and
What's the main goal of anarcho-capitalism? Is
a
it to get
better
rid of the
economic
state?
system. It's a better economic system and a system of
Because it believes monopoly when it's coercive is inefficient, right? That's the economic argument. That's the same thing. It's just my strategy to get there is different. So what how can you tell me
my
I'm
argument.
opposed to
Okay,
anarcho-capitalism?
no, I didn't say you were opposed to anarcho-capitalism. What I was referring to was earlier when you said that order is not necessarily derived from chaos.
You're the only one who says anything similar to that. What are you talking
No, no,
about? Orders?
no. I did not. So neither one of us should be revisionists here.
Look,
Let's just
look, look, look.
let's get to the argument.
Yeah, a collapse needs a collapse has to happen, right?
Okay, I will agree with that.
There's
What I'm saying is that yeah, a collapse should happen, but I'm saying that
yeah.
essentially you're being a
So
defeated.
if you have to deal with it and
It's going to happen
you
either
gotta
way.
learn from it either way, right?
Well, yeah. What you're saying is
It's
that it has to happen either way. The collapse is going to happen either way. What I'm saying is that it would be in your meta self interest to not allow it to occur through a means that would more impoverish you. So along the way, why
more
would you want to
impoverished.
allow? Yeah, you would become more impoverished
How
if
so?
because taxes would increase. You're going to be forced to go along with whatever Bernie Sanders' plans
If the
are.
government loses its finance, it couldn't even pay to
No, no,
collect.
no, 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 no. During the portion of time in which Sanders is in power, you would have less rights, you would have less ability, and you would be further taxed. So why would you want to go a route that would allow them to have more control over you and before it collapses, then because it's going to, we can agree that it's going to collapse either way, that hyperinflation is real.
You understand the magnitude of a bond and banking collapse, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
understand that after
I under,
that, the government will have no enforcement power.
I,
It'll tax all at once, but
no,
to actually collect those taxes, they'd be impotent.
I completely understand that, but that is post collapse. I am talking pre collapse with him in power. It is against your meta self interest.
Again, like I'd rather deal with high taxes in a short period of time than medium taxes over a longer period of time. Right.
So you have you seen the way that socialism and communism?
What's your alternative to acceleration first?
My alternative would be allow it to. It's going. We can agree that it's going to collapse either way, correct?
Sure. You want to prolong that collapse?
Yeah, I don't care if it's prolonged collapse. What I'm saying is that it would be more beneficial to me and others of like mind who, I'm not going to say.
What makes you think I haven't taken positions in order to profit from a collapse?
What positions have you taken in order to? I'm saying pre-collapse, dude. We can't get to. Don't change the goalpost. I'm saying pre-collapse.
No, you're saying it's not in my meta self interest for acceleration. How do you know I haven't positioned myself to profit from it?
How do I know that you haven't taken? No, I'm not saying. Don't move the goalpost. What I'm saying is that it's not.
I'm addressing what you're claiming.
No, what I'm claiming is
you're trying to make an argument. It's not in my self interest to accelerate, right?
No, I'm saying no. I'm saying your motivation, your means of acceleration is not in your self-interest, essentially.
So the people I want to exactly hurt, right, are the people who actually believe in the government, right? So the people who loan the government money, the people who've invested their life savings in government, the people who depend upon their social programs. These are the people I want to get rid of, but with this acceleration, right? And so, and when it collapses, it rewards those who see it, who actually have similar views as me, right? You take some. So why wouldn't you're telling me I don't want to do this, right? It's not in my.
Okay, so check it out. What I'm saying is that you will, under Sanders, you will see more executive orders along the lines of you remember the Obamacare doctrine, of everybody has to have health care, correct? And the people that didn't are penalized monetarily, and then the rates go up and it hurts everybody, correct? So
marginally, yeah. So what?
Yeah. Okay. So what I'm saying is that whether the collapse is fast or slow, your positioning of voting for him, you're going to be under his influence pre-collapse. So you will be hurt during that period of pre-collapse. It doesn't matter if you're positioned It doesn't matter if you're positioned post-collapse.
Okay, so
your position doesn't help you. It's not. Do you have a time? What I'm saying is time preference.
Let me give you an analogy, right? Let's say you have a broken bone, right? It can heal, right? Let's just forget the cost of surgery, right? You can go through, and let's just say there's no anesthetic. If you want to fix the broken bone, you can either let it heal, which will take a few months, right? 6 months, let's say, and you'll bear a medium pain throughout, or you can suffer like an intense pain of surgery for an hour. Heal up properly. Which would you rather do? You're
giving the monetary time preference argument. I get what you're saying. I'm not of some kind of retarded.
Money's only a unit, right? I'm talking about actual profit, right? Meta self profit. That's the real unit of concern here. Not money's just a way to put it in terms of measurement, right? If you're talking about my height, I can put it in terms of you.
I'm making a comparison. It's the exact same thing. So when you go through this period that's going to be under the power of Sanders or whatever, you're going to be subjugated more to things that are going to hurt you, even if you are positioned post collapse.
No,
You
but he's so, like, as far as the government, the way the way the government fiscally works is not through taxing and spending anymore. It's more akin to borrowing and spending. So it's not when they go out to do programs, it's not proportional to the taxation anymore. So when people like Bernie Sanders get into office, what he's more likely to do instead of raise taxes, and if he does, it's gonna be on the wealthiest 1%. Again, that's enough far away from my meta self that I'm not interested. I'm very I'm very marginally interested, right? So,
what
but they'll increase programs more than they increase taxes. That's the way these guys always work. So if they do that, the damage done to the fiscal wallet of government is greater than the taxation they impose on people. And if it is imposed, let's say proportionally, like if they increase social programs by 50%, raise taxes by 50%, it's going to be toward people I don't care about, like the
So you
very
don't believe in
wealthy.
trickle down at all? You don't believe in trickle down economics at all?
Oh, that's just such a loaded term, but I do somewhat believe in supply side economics because of dead
Yeah.
weight loss of
Okay.
taxation. So
Okay, exactly. So when you're agreeing for that, you're going to further the means of the destruction of whatever tax bracket that you are in to the point of
it's
the
short
economic.
term. You
I
understand?
understand it's short term. I get you there. What I'm fucking saying is that
You make it
if you
seem like there's no payoff.
no, I understand there's a payoff. I agree with the collapse and what payoff would be therein. What I am saying is that in that period, I don't care how fucking short it is. Have you read fucking Parkinson's Law?
What is that?
It's this whole the state perpetuates the state through those programs, the paperwork essentially.
I don't care about.
You don't care about economics. It's a fucking econ argument.
What do you know about econ?
Stop! You're
No,
fucking changing the
wait.
subject.
You're trying to you're trying to make it seem like I'm ignorant about economics.
I'm not. I'm not. But you said you don't
No,
care about it.
Parkinson's law is not something they'll teach you, not even in 4-year economics. What is this
Yeah.
shit? Where'd you read this shit from? And you,
It's from the. It's listen. It's a humorist article from the.
okay, yeah, that
Stop!
must be
Stop!
valid
Stop!
economics,
It
right?
is. It is valid economics. I'll send you the link here. It's from The Economist. It's a totally factual humorist argument, but it is a humorist one at that. One moment. Fucking
It can't perpetuate
one
itself.
work. One second. Work.
Because all of its activities are inherently unprofitable. That's necessarily a decrease in its lifespan. Why would you not want to decrease the lifespan of government? Did you link it?
Sorry about that. My phone was going off. I had to tell somebody to fuck off for a second. Um, Here we go.
Please don't tell me I don't know about economics.
I didn't say you didn't. I didn't say you didn't. But
Yes,
you
you did.
no. Don't be a revisionist.
After you brought up
Here you go.
Parkinson's,
No, I didn't say that. I said if you
you
say that you don't
you
care.
implied it.
Okay, yeah, maybe it was implied, but it wasn't a direct statement. You inferred that from what I said.
Yeah, I take great offense when someone's ignorant about economics is going to tell me I don't know economics.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, buddy. There's
No,
your link.
really.
I get it.
You're
I
gonna
do
tell me
too.
I don't know logic, and you're talking about common sense, which is not logic. Then you're gonna tell you. Then you're gonna reference an article from The Economist, right?
Yeah. Okay, buddy.
And tell me I don't understand economics.
Please. You know about the law of multiplication of subordinates, right?
No.
Okay, well that is an economic statement.
Yeah.
So here, To
Do you know
comprehend factor one, check it out. To comprehend factor one, we must first picture fucking ads. We must first picture a civil servant called A who finds himself overworked. Whether this overwork is real or imaginary is immaterial, but we should observe in passing that A's sensation or illusion of being overworked might easily result from his own decreasing energy, a normal symptom of the middle-aged person. For this real or imagined overwork, broadly speaking, there are three possible remedies. One, he may resign. Two, he may ask to have the work to work alongside colleague B. And three, he may demand the assistance of two subordinates to be called C and D. There is this probability of no instance in a civil service history of A choosing anything but the third alternative. By resignation, he would lose his pension rights. By B being appointed on his own level of hierarchy, he would merely be, furthering for less power within the company. So he's then therein a rival. So A would rather have C and D, junior men below him, and they will add to his consequence and his power. And means by dividing the work into two categories as between C and D, he will then have the merit of being the only man who comprehends them both. The initial argument is that granted that work, especially paperwork, is thus elastic in its demands on time and manifests that there need be little or no lasting relationship between the work to be done and the size of the staff to do it. So essentially, whether or not you're advocating for this accelerationism as something that you think will benefit you in that period of time, there can arise. Have you seen the way that socialism goes about sustaining their economies, right? You've seen that in the past, right?
Socialism's just, you mean the
How
way they try to sustain the population? What do you mean?
No, how they try to sustain the economies of those civilizations.
You mean
How
the
they go about
economic,
doing that.
how
Not the
they go about
not the
producing goods? You mean how socialism
not.
produces goods? You mean I don't get what you mean.
I apologize for being vague.
No,
The
it's
mean
poorly worded. Not just
yeah
vague.
no it that's insulting, buddy. So well, so do you.
No, I don't.
Let's actually have an argument here rather than throwing mud and being assholes.
You can do both.
Yeah, we can, but where does it get us? Where does it get us? It gets us at odds.
Just ignore the insults. For God's sakes, are you a woman? Shit. Just ignore the insults.
I'm not the bisexual fag here. So let's get to this.
You can ignore that.
Good. Go ahead and speak on what you need to speak on. I'm gonna find one of the articles I wrote for you.
You're talking about how it sustains the economy. Sustains the economy.
How it attempts to.
You mean how it produces goods? For God's sakes. What do you mean by sustain an economy? Perpetuating an economy. That's weird. It's like perpetuating a mechanism. You mean the way it produces goods or allocates goods? Method of production? Not sustaining a method of production, because that kind of doesn't make sense.
Oh God. Here we go. Sorry, I'm having to go through fucking my Google Docs. Relax. Okay. So what you're gonna end up seeing happening is within the time of the preventative collapse, there are three basic options for addressing the situation, right? One, through reform, in which the system's internal structure evolves in such a way to better correspond with the available resources. Well, we can both agree that the collapse is inevitable and that it's too late for reform, correct? Two, through the system's collapse, which is what you're arguing, in which it's the same result, but it's achieved via different revolution, which is what we're talking about, right? And then three, this is what socialism has done in the past, through the preservation in which the inputs threatening the system are eliminated by force, and the relations within the system are carefully preserved on an inequitable relationship basis. What I'm saying is that I know that it's not sustainable. I said it wasn't. It's not going to be sustainable. It doesn't matter. You're going to see that that method of preservation, which is going to see people like you and I removed by force because we are not espousing ideas that they agree with. We need to forcibly remove them first. Helicopter and all. I don't give a shit.
It's gonna. I mean, it's gonna happen either way near a
I
collapse.
understand. I understand that. We
So
both
I don't
understand that.
understand. So if it's
We
both, it's gonna happen in either of all alternatives. Why are you blaming me for it?
I'm not blaming you for it. I'm saying that it's not in your meta self-interest to get caught up
It's gonna happen
in
either way. You just said, right?
no,
If I
I
can't avoid it, why are we
what you can avoid
calculating
what you
profit
can,
versus alternatives?
what you can avoid is their method of preservation, which is in the inputs threatening the system are eliminated by force. You can choose a method of elimination that eliminates
Look,
those
my
ideas.
idea is not gonna make them collapse. It's their debt to their debt holders, not necessarily me.
Yeah,
I
it
may,
is. You are the debt holder though. What you know what that bond is that they trade to
I'm
the
not a debt
Yeah, you
holder.
are. Yeah, you are. You are the one responsible for the debt to the Federal Reserve. Whether you want to believe it or not, that bond that they trade to the Fed for currency that
Look,
comes back to
look,
us
look.
is your debt. That is your debt. If you are a
No,
citizen, that is your debt.
it's not my debt.
Yes, it is.
It's not my debt.
Yes, it is.
No, it's
Whether
only
you
my
want to
debt.
agree with it or not,
It's only my debt
if you're a citizen.
in so much as the U.S. government has the power to collect it.
Yeah, and they will have the power to enforce that.
Absolutely
Well,
not.
yes, they
Absolutely not.
will.
No,
Under
no,
Bernie
no,
Sanders,
no.
yes, they will, and
You have
that will
to,
be
you have to
their method of
understand.
preservation
There's
and debtors' prisons
oh,
and
Jesus.
fucking gulags, and that's what you're going to have to fucking deal with under that dude. I'm saying you would be better. You'd be better suited supporting somebody who's at least wants to espouse the ideas that you have, rather than somebody who is completely opposed to that and would rather see you in a fucking prison.
So when the collapse happens slower at a slower pace, this is not going to happen in that alternative too.
No, what you will end up seeing is the
Wait,
former
wait.
through two.
So you
Through
said no, right?
listen, what you will end up seeing is
You
through
wait,
two
wait. You
through the system's
conceded.
collapse.
Wait.
No, what you will see is number two through the system's collapse, which the same result is achieved via revolution. I guarantee you it'll be through number two. Yeah, listen, I would encourage you to read.
Revolution? What
Yeah,
type of revolution? Intellectual revolution?
I don't
No, no.
necessarily think
You
you
guys
would
are
want that in
dumb for
America.
that.
You no,
So
fuck you.
you
You
believe in
wouldn't see that.
so you ultimately believe in a democracy, right?
No, fuck democracy, especially mass democracy.
How, then why do you have such faith in a revolution when it has to be democratic in nature, stupid?
No, it does not have to be democratic in nature. Have you
No,
seen how organic? Have you seen how organic
I am talking
the
about a
alt right
mechanistic
is?
collapse of fiscal, financial mechanisms, not through any movements, which is democratic ultimately. If what you said was true, then democracy could work on some
No,
type of level.
no, I didn't say that, and no, that is not true.
Now, what I'm talking about is financial law, right? When debts can't be paid, people who are you can only pass around the bag for so long. Someone's going to be left with that bag, and somewhere down the lines, they're going to realize it. And when they realize it, hurting has to occur. Now, this
Yeah,
hurting will happen either way, right?
I agree, but what I'm saying is what you're going. Dude, you're completely ignoring my objection. 1 second, work, phone.
Well, you're not making your objections clear, right? Jesus Christ. I still don't get your point about you still haven't made a case that it's against my meta self-interest, right? I want to accelerate the pathway. I want to make the pathway shorter to total freedom, right? But you want to sacrifice total freedom for partial freedom in the meantime and prolong the idea of democracy. Revolutions happen through democratic movements, whether you want to admit it or not. I don't know why you don't want to admit it. It's a people movement. You must convince. And you're not going to convince people inside of Western civilizations that are already comfortable. What makes you think you're going to have a revolution from inside? This is what I'm talking about. The fiscal collapse is going to happen from almost international demands, the people holding that debt. And I know they're not the majority stakeholders, but maybe, I don't know, whoever invests in the government deserves to be punished, right?
Sorry about that. I thought you had me muted. I fucking sat on the mic button. No, that's not what I'm saying. So are you denying the organic nature of the alt-right movement, essentially? You're saying that it has to, that the revolution has to happen through democratic means. No,
Organic.
that's wrong. That's wrong. So you think that this is
What do you mean by
somehow
organic?
what do I mean? What do you mean? What do I mean?
What do you mean?
Okay, no, not democratic grassroots.
Terms that
then,
I don't want to just like leave out there, right? You keep
okay. Stop. Essentially, what you're doing is you're getting upset every time I bring something up that's invalid about your claim. So what I'm saying
I'm getting upset because you keep throwing out terms that are loaded that I'm not even aware of their particular definition.
Dictionary.com.
No.
So what I'm saying is that no, it doesn't have to be a democratic revolution. Yeah. So check it out.
You know what I gather that means just from context. It's a grassroots democratic movement,
Wrong.
right? Is that what you mean? What do you mean by that then? Organic.
Take the word democratic out.
You just don't want to admit it. It's a people.
No, it's movement. Not. No,
isn't it? Oh, grassroots. God damn. Democratic.
Okay.
No, I need
it's not inherently democratic. It is not.
Grassroots, that's convincing people, right? Right. So
what I'm saying is what I'm saying is that they've been convinced through means that are not democratic. They have been convinced that this is shitty. And what I'm saying is that whether the president is Trump or whether the president
how do you
let me talk, please.
You've been talking more than I have. So how do you plan to convince people within?
KK, I'm not going to engage in this if I'm going to talk and while in the middle of me expressing why you're wrong.
You have more time than I have so far.
You have a timer going?
I'm sure of it. You went on that stupid. Look, okay, so
we've both been going on tirades.
No,
I was on a work phone call.
Wait, what was that? Wait, okay.
You had all that time to state your claims.
Well, you didn't even listen to it.
Well, I couldn't. I was on the phone with work. How could I?
Then why you penalizing me for when you're not listening to me?
Because that was airtime that was going to be showed that I don't have a chance to object to.
Really, we're going back and forth in a debate, so that even though I was talking to the audience, you're trying to count that toward my time in the debate.
Yeah, exactly. Because you're speaking to the audience. It doesn't matter what I think or what you think, because clearly what matters is what they think.
Conversing with you.
I get that.
How can you progress?
Okay, what is the point of a debate, a public debate? What is the point? It's to sway opinion. What I'm saying is that your time, whether it been with me or the audience, is still valid.
No, wait. You fucking make assumptions. No, it's to find the truth, you faggot.
Hey, you don't need to get angry, buddy.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Calm down. Don't throw your computer.
It's because you keep making assumptions. I'm not obsessed. Shut up. I'm not obsessed. I am not obsessed with convincing the audience necessarily. I'm here to discover the truth, right? If you make a logical argument or logical point and you're willing to lay out all your definitions instead of throwing out ambiguous terms and think you made an argument, sorry, that's not an argument. So when you use something like organic and you claim it's not democratic, right? Democratic in terms of a people movement, and the whole idea of convincing people is a people movement. I don't care about convincing people. I care about truth first. That's my primary objective, not convincing others.
What I'm saying is, first, get get a prescription for Xanax. Let's do
Yeah,
this
you
do
do the
this thing.
same.
Okay, hey man, maybe you should
Get
get
an
Prozac too.
education. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
we could,
so
we
okay, let's
could
go
get back
back
to
and
the argument. Yeah.
no, no, no. Let's drop the argument. Let's go back to subjective objective.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can
Something
do
more
that.
technical because you're using too
I'm
many
going practical. Yeah, I know, and you're not about
practical.
practical
No,
efficacy.
no, no. Don't confuse practicality with being haphazard.
So what I'm saying is that, yeah, I was being more practical and you're being more idealist. It's okay, but in
No,
your
not
idealism, you're
idealist,
being a
logical.
defeatist. Oh, okay.
So let's talk
So
about subjective objective because
okay, we'll go to your battleground.
you think talking about complex things is something you should jump into without establishing a foundation. And obviously, you're just
Yeah,
like
you don't have
everybody. You're just like everybody else. That's why you make so many mistakes, right? You only see one train of thought by
one. No,
reading one particular article instead of learning the foundation, the mechanics, right?
you're
You
talking
don't
about the
really
articles that I wrote. You're talking about I only agree with the articles that I wrote. Wow. Yeah, of course I agree with my articles.
no, you don't even have a base foundation in economics, let alone logic, right? So I was going to demonstrate that when we talk about subjective objective. I'm going to show you here, right? You think you can jump into topics about economic policy when you I'm sure your thinking is influenced by one particular article.
No,
When economics teaches you um, methods of analysis and presents all different perspectives and all different drawbacks and payoffs, while you've only seen one proposal and set on that. That's the problem with people thinking that they read a lot and think they're educated when they haven't learned just a foundation of analysis. I mean, I'm not even talking about math here, just economics in general, which is something you shouldn't jump into without learning like at least logic first. Well, you can, but when you make an argument, it's messy, right?
yeah,
So
I mean, I definitely can,
let's talk about
I can
subjective
definitely.
objective. I'll just show you how technical. Like this is something more abstract, right? Where you should start out and learn some methods of analysis before you jump into something as complex as like policy, economic policy, or even microeconomic policy of what an individual should do in order to maximize strategy, right? So if you know your ends, now you're just trying to get the means, the optimum means to get there. But okay, so let's just talk about subjective objective. So please define subjective objective, and I'll let you revise it as much as you want when I catch you in a mistake.
Go ahead and
So
give me your definition, and I'll see. I'll
wait,
tell
wait,
you
no,
where I don't.
I want to work off your understanding because you don't think it's a subset. So if I'm even gonna show your understandings wrong, then I'm gonna need your definitions because my definitions is gonna prove me right, obviously. So do you want my
Yeah, go ahead.
do you want to work off my definitions?
Yeah, let's go off of your definitions.
What? Okay, and then I'll let you give yours if you want to. But
I'll get no. If by the same token, we'll all go. I'll go ahead and show where you know, where I disagree.
yeah, let me know if you have any problems with either.
Okay.
I think intuitively you'll somewhat agree with most of it, if not all of it. Okay, so objective is this is the one. Maybe I should give subjective first. Subjective's anything. Okay, so I'm going to use some terms that are kind of poorly defined here, but give me a second. I'll define those two. Anything completely determined by a mind, right? 100%. And when I say determined, I mean mathematically created, right?
Hmm.
So if it's created by a mind, it's subjective, right? It must be
Correct.
created, right? Determined. When I say determined, I'm not saying measured. I'm saying created. Right?
Or chosen by someone, by a single person. Yeah.
It could be just by at least one mind, right? So it can be a group of people too. It can be a group of minds, just as long as a mind or at least one mind is behind creating it. You, you okay with that so far? Any disagreement here?
No. The thing is that I don't necessarily believe that as soon as you start talking about a collection of minds, you have to say that it's not someone's own subjective view. You have to say that they're agreeing with someone else's subjective view. You can't just say that, just because they
It doesn't
agree with some.
matter. When I say at least one mind, it covers so even in that respect, it was created by whoever first constructed the idea, right? So it still fits, it still covers. So when I say at least one mind, it covers everything, right? It covers one mind, and if you don't agree that a group of minds can come up with an idea, it still covers one mind. So it's still comprehensive, right? You have no argument against it, right? So I said at least one mind. So it doesn't say it necessarily has to. It can occur with a group, right? If it's at least one mind, and you're trying to make the argument that a group of minds must
You're
first
saying
get
that
from one guy.
you're saying that some objective hive mind is a subjective decision. No.
No, please don't introduce objective yet. I didn't define it, so please don't jump there. Okay, I didn't define it yet, so if you want to use my definitions, please don't use it yet.
Go ahead.
So, do you have any problems with my definition of subjective so far? Can you see any counterexample that would lead to a contradiction so far?
Give me your definition of objective, and I'll tell you where it contradicts with your definition of subjective.
Created
Go ahead.
100% by at least one mind.
Go ahead.
Huh?
Continue with your definition of objective, and I'll tell you where it contradicts your subjective.
Objective? Okay, objective is anything to do with an object in reality. Now, I expect you to have maybe some problem with this, but you shouldn't have a problem with the definition. Does it describe something? And the only good objection you should have with definition is if you can find an example that somehow leads to a contradiction. Then something's inherently logically wrong with your definition. You understand that?
What? You're saying essentially, if I have an objection, I'm wrong.
No. There's only one type of legitimate objection you can have with arbitrary subjective definition, right? So again, by my definition of subjective, definition itself is subjective. It's arbitrary.
Right? Yeah, it's yours.
It's an assignment of terms to concepts.
So while I won't with what you've said so far, I won't disagree with the way you've chosen to espouse it. What I will say is that it's not a truism. Essentially, you're saying that what I'm saying is that your subset of objective argument is not anything based in reality, that it's your own subjective opinion. Can I get a answer for how property rights are to be determined post collapse?
We're talking about.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to touch on something we spoke on earlier. How are property rights?
Subjective. I thought we were making progress with subject, and now you want to jump to rights?
Yeah, how are property rights
one at a time? Let's stick to subjective objective first. Okay.
How are property rights determined post collapse?
I don't believe in property rights. Okay.
Wait, you're a commie?
Oh God, no. So what makes you think it's a necessary condition in order to believe in the free market that it's best for my meta self to believe in rights? I don't believe in rights.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a fallacy you're making. You're thinking, you know what a necessary condition is?
So you know that all civilization has been based off property rights, right?
Absolutely not.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, civilization.
You know what statist documents and religion are based on rights? Yes, I can agree to that part.
So where has a civilization sprung up?
Okay,
in which it did not have property rights. Okay, wait.
First, let's just make it official. We're dropping subjective and objective at the moment, and we're going to jump to rights. Even though I just wanted to show how hard it is to work with definition, right? Now we're going to something definition a little more complex, where you're going to make the same fucking definitional mistakes. So let's go to rights, right? So can you please define what a right is?
I wouldn't say that it would be something that you were born with, but it would be something that you were given upon autonomy.
Given to, okay,
something that is allocated to you upon.
Can you answer me a question? Can you answer me a question? What does it mean to have a right to something but not the ability to do it? What does that mean in reality? So in reality, let's say I have a right to this, but I can't achieve it. So what does it mean?
What
Right
do you
without ability. Does it have any meaning?
right without ability? Then you
Yes.
don't have that right if you don't have that ability.
Okay. Okay. So now you need to make a distinction between right and ability. Is there any difference between right and ability? Like I have the ability to, let's say I had the ability to kill you. I was behind you with a gun and I could pull the trigger. Does that give me the right to? No. What's the difference?
It, yeah, no, it totally gives you the ability to and the right to.
Okay. You're almost equating the two. Now, is there
No, no.
any difference? And if there is, please tell me the difference. Please
Uh,
differentiate between the two.
I would say that
Does it mean it
you know,
seems to me rights tards have a hard time doing it?
yeah, I mean you have to base what is a right based on your morality. I don't think that there really is any inherent uh, difference between right and ability. You know, you totally have the right to kill me,
Wait,
but
first
you know,
define
but
right. Can you define right?
I already gave that to you.
Can you give it
Something
to
that
me
is
again? I
something that is
didn't.
bequeathed. Listen, something that is bequeathed to you that
Hmm.
is inalienable upon your autonomy,
Now, what determines autonomy?
your ability to
It's not. It's not a self
the
ownership,
ability.
right? It's not a right itself.
No, no, you acquire it.
So
You
self
acquire
ownership is
autonomy.
not a right. It must be earned.
Oh no, don't. Yeah, I mean,
I
it
I
has.
I didn't
Okay,
I
so
didn't
check it.
jump anything.
No, I get you.
That's a
I
valid
get you.
question.
You know, it totally is a valid question. So it goes into that whole argument where you know
Circular argument.
it goes into that whole argument where you know how voluntary slavery would exist within an
Okay,
anarcho-capitalist society. I
can I
get
give
you.
you, can I give you ego utilitarian's point of view?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so there's no such thing as rights. I mean, there is a concept of rights, but they don't have any meaning in reality, right? They don't hold any meaning to in order to determine strategy, right? There's so all privileges all privileges must be earned, and all acts they must meet a cost in order to do it. Any action you wish to do, whether it's self-ownership or defending a piece of property for your home. Now, the thing is, there's always going to be ability out there. Now, when the cumulative interest surpasses that of the individual, then it's only rational for that cumulative interest to overpower that individual or whatever. It can
I
even be
don't
an
believe in
individual
it.
over it can even be an individual overpowering a group, a bigger group. Whatever meta self versus another meta self, it doesn't matter. But
Yeah, but I
ability
don't
is
believe
what's
in
important
collective
here, right?
self-interest.
So,
I don't.
the greater question here is, right, why would someone protect someone else's what you coin as a right? Like, why would I help you if you cannot protect yourself, right? Let's say there's a big ogre called Max, right? He wants to rape you and you can't stop him, right? I'm in the room with you, right?
Mhm.
So you claim there's a right for him not to rape you or something like that, right? It doesn't. What does it mean? So how should rational actors
Why would you
in
protect me
this
from that? Well, if
in,
I'm producing goods on a mass scale that benefits you, you would inherently protect me because I am doing
now
something
you're
that
appealing
benefits
to
you.
my meta self-interest, right? It's not
Yeah,
this
I
it's
am.
not it's
I
not
am. I'm using your
it's not
argument to
this
tell you that you're wrong.
it's not this what if Max produces more than you for me, right? What if I don't even
Oh,
trade with you because
then I
what if
deserve to
I don't
die.
even trade with
Then
you?
I deserve to die.
What are, so
Okay, if you don't,
what
if
happens to
Max
your right? What
produces,
happens to your right? Where's your right?
listen, if Max produces more than me, and I am not a functioning or beneficial member to society, then I get raped. That's essentially what happens. I don't really care about that. What I want to know is how property is allocated post collapse.
Profitability, right? Um the cum the cumulate the cumulative interest as far as that property is concerned. Okay, so when there's a piece of property and there's some type of dispute, who the interest in making it happen, making it being owned by a particular meta self, right? Let's say Okay, let me just do an example because I know you
So
retards love example.
I don't know about retard, but
General.
go ahead. So essentially, you're a corporatist. You want to.
Oh shit! Now you want to introduce a fucking another loaded term? Just call me corporatist. I think you want.
You're welcome.
I don't. Corporations are artificial. They thrive in limited liability, which is from
Okay, what's
government.
your definition of artificial? Because so not organic,
When I meant
not
artificial, I
democratic.
mean in a government created way. It doesn't happen in the
So
free
you believe
market
in a
because it's
state.
not profitable.
So you believe in a state if you're going to use that in your definition.
I believe in the state. How did you jump there?
Because you said it's created by a government. It's in your definition.
Corporations. Yes, you're talking about corporations at the time. Yes,
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
incorporation law and limited liabilities. A government create. Not a government creation, but something sustained by the government, which otherwise would be eroded to zero. There's no one to protect. There's no one to protect liability in a market, right? I can't hide behind a corporate logo. I can't limit my losses to shareholder equity, right? You know what limited liability law
Yeah,
is,
I
right?
know what an LLC is.
What is
So
it?
an LLC
What's
is
the
where
advantage of it?
what's the advantage? I mean, it gives you the right to be a shitbag.
Come on, can you be more specific?
It limits the public's ability to penalize you for being a
You
shitbag.
you can't go after personal assets of the shareholders, right? You can only go
Yes,
after
the personal assets of the owner of the company or the company itself.
the company itself, or they're paid in capital. In other
Yeah,
words,
exactly. You can't go against the principal. You can only
or
go
retained
against the
revenue.
capital. No, you can't go against the principal. You can only against the
Yeah.
capital. I get you.
So corporations are artificially sustained through number one, limited liability law, and number two, government regulation, which adds to fixed costs, which increases the advantage of economies of scale, right? So
So essentially, what you're saying is that within your ideal society, that limited liability would not exist, and that I would be able to sue somebody who invested in your company, even though they didn't perpetuate the act.
no, first off, no. Okay, so all laws must be enforced, right? Whether it be in a free market, some law established, right? So every contract, every quote unquote right you want to acknowledge, everything must be backed up with someone's ability to do it. Do you agree with that so far, right? So if in order for a right to make sense, right? So uh, in
1 moment, phone call. Go ahead, talk. I'll be listening, but I'm going to be on the phone.
yeah, everything ultimately comes down to ability, right? I'm not necessarily saying it's right in a normative sense, but if you want to do something, it has to be able to be done first, and someone has to be willing to do it. And so this is where your first starting point in in economics. It's economics, not just property, but allocation of production of goods, allocation of everything, right? Production and property, capital, or consumer. It it's all determined. It should be determined by.
Hey, hey, hey. Can we continue this in just a moment? I have something to do right now. My ex-wife's trying to get a hold of me about my son. It was not work. Um,
Yeah, yeah, sure.
can we? Yeah, let's go ahead and continue this. Just go off air and I need to make a phone call and we'll get this sorted. Okay?
Yeah, I might rant or whatever, but
I understand. That's mostly what you do. You don't make points. You just rant.
yeah, look at yourself. Okay, so okay, this guy's just this guy thinks he's educated and he's just this is a problem when you teach yourself and you're dumb, right? So those two things don't mix together. If you're an intelligent person, self-education makes somewhat sense, but when you're stupid, I mean, you tend to follow like the first article you read, or you tend to follow your emotions instead of pure logic. So this guy, his all his analysis is built on shitty foundation. He doesn't start from quote unquote first principles, but that's actually true. There should be first principles, axioms, and definition that are still must be empirically tested, right? So I disagree with stupid praxeology and the fact that it's how do you say when you're stuck up? It's a conceited notion to say that axioms should never be tested, right? I understand what praxeology is saying. Like it's good enough to assume that it's true in all circumstances, but so anyways, you start from axioms based on experience, and the only thing you can say is that evolution exists, and then from there you build on what it selects for, and what it selects for is the only thing sustainable. It's eventually going to be the long-term outcome, and it's in your best interest to get there the fastest way possible. So as far as rights are concerned, there's no such thing. If a right, okay, there is a such thing as a concept of a right, right? But it makes no such thing to say you have a privilege to something when no one is willing to give it to you, whether it be yourself or a group or society in general or any other group. So this is what I'm talking about. These stupid rights dudes, they don't even know what the fuck they're talking about. They can't define it. He's defining it uh, dependent upon autonomy. Okay, now he has a problem with self-ownership, and a lot of free market faggots, a lot of rights tards want to say that self-ownership is a right in itself. And so this guy is going to disagree with a lot of the other rights tards by making that claim. Somehow it's different, right? And this is where at least the Austrian school pretends to use logic with praxeology and trying to prove the self-ownership axiom, which I'll get into as a fallacy later in one of my other videos. But Hoppe makes a purely inconsequential and insignificant point in proving self-ownership, where he claims that you cannot argue against self-ownership. So at least the Austrian school tries to make a somewhat logical attempt to prove that self-ownership is something like a true natural law, not just the right, but almost a law. So, and they claim that everyone owns themselves because no one can argue against it, but those two are not equivalent. Arguing against something is not the same thing as it actually being a law. And I'll explain to you in another video talking about with the criticism on argumentation ethics. But and here's just an example, right? I mean, to say one cannot argue against it is not the same thing as saying self-ownership is true. So I can go into a group of I can go into a room full of turtles and tell them you cannot argue with me, and by default that statement is true because they cannot. Let's say argument was just talking to me, assuming these turtles cannot talk. By default, it's true. It's not the fact. So when I go into a room full of slaves, let's assume that these slaves don't own themselves. So let's say owning yourself was a prerequisite, a necessary condition to arguing, right? And I were in a room full of slaves, and I were to proclaim to them, just like Hoppe does, that you cannot argue with self-ownership. And you can see by default it's true. The room full of slaves cannot argue with me because it's a necessary precondition to argue. And since they don't own themselves, they cannot argue with me, or they weren't given their permission by their master to argue with me, right? And by default, it's true. It's not that they own themselves. Obviously, the hypothetical is that they're slaves. So you see, Hoppe doesn't consider two possibilities, right? The only people that can argue with you are the people that own themselves. That's one possibility, and this is the only set of the population he considers. He doesn't consider the portion of the population that don't own themselves, that cannot argue. So he hasn't proven self-ownership. He just proves you cannot argue with it, because if you don't own yourself, you cannot argue, and if you own yourself, you cannot argue. And so that's why I might get into it. Yeah, I'll get into it further in another in a more specified. That's only one problem I have with argumentation ethics, and the problems with self-ownership. So the thing is with rights tards and these guys is that they don't they don't they really don't have a sense of definition and how important definition is, because you build off a definition once actually the concept of the concept itself. So when you construct when you analyze a concept, and you have to know exactly what that concept is defining, so your analysis has no limitation, or you can see problems with it. And this guy doesn't know what a right is, really. I'm catching him into ambiguous areas where he's talking about it's dependent upon what is that, sovereignty or some shit, and that just begs the question. Okay, so is sovereignty a right? And then he talks, and then he can't differentiate between rights and ability, and so, and ego-utilitarianism, all it does is it makes sense of reality by first acknowledging that action is actually the only thing you should consider, right? I mean, possible action. Rights don't mean anything without someone providing it. Now, this guy was brainwashed from religion and schooling, right, to always think that we always have rights. Even in economics, they talk about how important property rights are, but these are granted by the states or religion, right? When religion teaches you rights are given to you by God, state makes you believe you have them when they provide it for you, when they defend it for you. Rights do not exist in a free market. All things must be paid by somebody. All actions, all costs of an action must be paid by somebody. And to think that a cost will be fulfilled just because some weird natural obligation from nature is ridiculous. That's statist in nature. And this is what this guy is doing. He's a fucking idiot. And when he fucking laughs at me, it's I don't know how it is, but I don't know if you've ever had like a retarded person call you retarded. It's just so insulting. I just want to like bash my computer. This guy's such a fuking idiot. And I'm sure he thinks he's somewhat educated. He's absolutely not. And the fact that he tries to like just drop the subjective objective debate, right? I was making progress in that, and he was getting caught in his bad definitions and tried to jump into rights, something that he's not yet ready for, yet let alone talking about strategy about how to get to anarchy, right? You don't want to risk yourself by doing tax evasion. You just want to prepare yourself, and if you can, through peaceful means, vote for Bernie Sanders. That's all you got to do. But apparently this guy's just so retarded. I mean, it pains me to debate this guy, right? Without a mediator, without an intelligent mediator. If I had an intelligent mediator, I wouldn't be so offended, because I could call this guy out on his stupid. Even though I don't listen well, I can call him out on his improper foundation of debating, right? You don't just keep throwing out terms out there. Well, anyways, I'm going to stop this broadcast from now. Hopefully I can continue with this. I don't know. I don't even know if this is entertaining at this point without a mediator, but this guy's such an idiot. These rights tards